Afternoon, everybody. It's 13:30 UK time. It's Tuesday. It's Liam and Joe show. Yeah.
Joe and Liam show.
Welcome in, everybody, all you beautiful people who should be working, but
Yeah.
choose on a Tuesday to spend your lunchtimes with us instead, or mornings if you're in the US of A.
Yeah.
Welcome back to another stream. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Fun fact, last non-members stream of January 2023.
That's mad,
So
isn't
if
it?
you want to gift memberships, today's the day to do it.
I was thinking about time zones the other day, right?
Oh, fucking here we go.
How far around do you have to go before it goes from 12 hours ahead to 12 hours behind?
There's like that fault line, isn't there?
Yeah,
Yeah, where it changes days if you go over the line.
yeah. But the people that are there, like if you step from you step like across the road and you're automatically, it's not 12 hours behind immediately.
I'd have like two houses.
Or 24, yeah.
And on Sunday, I'd go to the other side where there's no, where it's Sunday again.
Yeah.
Just get 2 Sundays. Every week will be a 3-day weekend.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's probably not how it works.
I'm not a science man.
If you see someone in chat tonight, it's today. It's not tonight, is it? Today. It's because Joe's car's still broken. Chris is here as taxi.
But it's not getting better. I just have to get a new car.
Yeah.
That's the difficult.
So Chris is here as his taxi, but he's not here for the Liam and Joe show because it's Liam and Joe show. So he's just in chat. You'll see him commenting as me, and you'll be like, "This is wizardry." It's because Chris is sat behind the deck at the moment. But we're doing the normal Liam and Joe show. If you're new here and you haven't already, make sure you hit all the magical YouTube buttons. Hit that like button if you haven't already. For us, please, beautiful people, subscribe if you're not. YouTube still shows us that 30% plus of people that watch the channel currently aren't subscribers, and we'd really appreciate it if you'd hit that big subscribe button and then press the bell end.
You don't even have to give us money. You just have to press.
Shh, don't tell them that.
But obviously, do give us all your money.
So, beautiful people, what are we going to talk about today? Most of you will know that this last weekend, if you follow 40k at all, even if you don't follow competitively, this last weekend was the Las Vegas Open. Las Vegas Open is basically the biggest gaming event in the 40k calendar. It's almost always the last weekend in January, and typically it also showcases or is symbolic of the end of the ITC season as well.
Normally it's whoever wins the LVO wins the ITC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whoever wins LVO typically wins the ITC.
Yeah.
Not always, but 9 times out of 10.
Yeah.
It's the highest weighted for points in the 40k calendar. I think this year saw over 900 people compete in Las Vegas. And when they went into the finals, there was 15 people on 5 or 6 wins undefeated before they went into the cut. So an incredible event. And to be honest with you, it showcases how good 40k still is, how much it's still growing, how big the community is, etc. And although there is those elite few that sit in the sort of top, I don't know, 20 or so who are competing for the ITC title, a lot of people do just go there to hang out, have fun, enjoy themselves, hang out with other gamers, and just make a weekend of it in Vegas. And what better place to make a weekend of it? Yeah. So big shout out to the Frontline Gaming crew who put on LVO. I couldn't imagine running a 900 person event. Herding 40 cats at the DZ events is enough for me, quite frankly.
Yeah,
at the moment.
and the terrain management must be a nightmare.
Yeah, absolutely. But they did an incredible job this year, and I was watching some of it on the War Games live stream. If you haven't checked out War Games Live already, that's a whole other YouTube channel. Check out War Games Live on YouTube. He streams an event every single weekend, without fail. He streams an event every single weekend. So check out War Games Live. Super nice people. And his co-commentator this weekend, and I've seen him in chat already, was Nurgle Matthew. Yeah. He's got one of the nicest voices I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah. Is it smooth?
It's buttery smooth. He could be a golf announcer. It's amazing.
Oh, really?
So big shout out to Matt because you were a legend this weekend. They shouted about us as well on their streams. They had a lot more viewers than we get, like by a lot. Good. Because they were obviously the streaming.
Maybe we should do it, but like you've got some commentators who are nice, and we're just mega abusive. Well, we should have a nice quiet stream, and this is the people where basically. We'll be like the 4chan of commentators. Yeah.
Well, like I said, they went over 10,000 subs this weekend, so big shout out to War Games Live. They shout about us a little bit as well. It's incredible. Go give them some love. Click that subscribe button. They also have a Patreon page and memberships as well. Memberships, fun fact, memberships are 99 cents on their channel. Just $1, just $1.
That's not bad at all.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
So, heroes. Now, most of what comes out that weekend, every single year, most of what comes out that weekend is really positive. People with super positive stories, people that really enjoyed themselves, people that had loads of fun and got to hang out with different people, whether they met Duncan or Titans or whoever it might have been. And most of what comes out of that weekend is positive stuff. However, frequently, we do have a little bit of negativity that comes out of LVO. This isn't just LVO, and it isn't just conducive of LVO. This happens at lots of major events where 99.9% of the people go, enjoy themselves, play the game in the right way, and there's no problems. And that small, tiny, like less than 1% of people typically kind of ruin it. And what I mean by that is negative stuff comes out about people accusing other people of cheating, or people that haven't played in the right way, or etc., etc., right? And that begs a question for me. So we're talking about the biggest event in the calendar. We're talking about the end of the ITC season. We're talking about ITC as the competitive benchmark to prove who's the best in the world.
Yeah.
And a lot of people over the course of the last few years specifically have talked about 40k growing as an e-sport.
Yeah.
Now, this weekend they streamed 40k on War Games Live. They streamed 40k on the Frontline Gaming channel. They streamed it on Warhammer TV. They were streaming all the other systems as well. And I want to know what you think about whether 40k can ever be an e-sport. To add some context, I think that often people can accuse other people of cheating without the other person actually having cheated at all.
Yeah.
But some people are so desperate to win that they'll use any reason or excuse perhaps to discredit their opponent.
Yeah.
And I'm not suggesting anyone at LVO this year did in fact actually cheat, but in a game where we use tape measures and inches and we're all hovering and the bases and there's terrain moves, it's not fixed in place, and there's dice rolls, can it actually ever be an e-sport? Because my personal opinion on this is that it can't be it can never be a true e-sport.
No.
Now let's look at actual true e-sports. So we see it with, what's the game?
Counter-Strike,
CSGO.
Yeah.
So CSGO is a true e-sport, and it is basically down entirely to player skill.
Yeah.
Because they all use the same computer, they all have the same setup,
Yeah,
and the game dynamics and the way the game is balanced, it's just player skill.
Most Call of Duty e-sport type stuff, the most popular ones are play games that are similar to the CSGO build. It's like plant bombs, capture things, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be really controversial.
Okay.
You know me. I think it can be an e-sport. However, I think we're championing the wrong people to do it. So, when you watch a really competitive game, like top tier competitive 40k, right? So, the non-mic'd up version is so boring. I would rather watch like 11 days of Test cricket over watching a 2.5 hour long competitive 40k stream.
I hate cricket.
I would rather watch that, right? Because nothing really happens, and the first 2 turns take like an hour and a half. Like, because it's just when you have the mic'd up version, historically, it's just 2 grown men bickering at a table.
Yes, because doesn't show it in the right light.
No, because they've decided when they get to the table, they look at the layout, they both stand there and they go, "You're taking these secondaries, I'm taking these secondaries. This turn, there's this. You've won." So they've already decided who's won and lost before the game's even started, and then they have to play it out because they're on stream. And it's just not. I think what we need to do is start having more entertaining people do it. So like us, for example, or like Lawrence, get like
but that's not. That's not
so
an sport at that point. Though, is
what you do, I think, is you do the 40k equivalent of gladiators, right?
Where's this going, Joe?
So what you do is you have a set team that works for the competition. So say there's 10 players. So
right.
So you get like, and you have to work up in tiers to like whoever the best player is, right? So like Mikey's number 1, for instance, and then it's like Chris, and then me, and then you, and then it goes up right to people.
Okay.
A list of people, and then you have contestants have to run the gauntlet of players. For instance. So each gladiator, that's what we'll be, has a fixed army and a fixed mission, for instance, and a fixed table layout. And then the people come on and they see how far they can go. So be like, "Oh, well done. You beat the 3rd player, Stephen Box. Well done." It's not hard. But you get past him and then you go to the 4th player, right?
I don't.
So, and then you go, and that, because for esports, right, to be successful, they have to be entertaining. They have to have that wow factor.
I think that's where there's a distinct difference between an esport, as I think the current sort of iteration is. The current iteration of esports typically is around being competitive, and there might be variabilities in whatever the esport is covering, but nonetheless, it's competitive.
But then, I think
you're not looking at it as an esport. You're looking at it as an entertainment.
But I think whoever gets the highest or gets the most amount of points, that's where the competitive side of it comes out of, because true competitive players at the very top level are just horrible to watch.
Not always.
They're lovely people.
Of course.
Sometimes you might have an entertaining game that gets really, really tight, but more often than not, it's one guy smashing up another guy
It's that
in
one
two
guy.
turns.
I don't know. I think I've seen some competitive games which I've actually really enjoyed watching.
I think you have to make it entertaining first. 40k Gladiators, right? So people tune in and watch it, and it's entertaining, and you have like your jets, and you have warrior.
Will you dress up as Jet?
I'll dress up as Jet. Yeah, no problem. She was my favourite. She was the best gladiator. And then you've got your Wolverine, stuff like that. And then once you've got enough people doing it, then you can have the segue of the pure competitive channel, because then people are aware of the great entertainment value. Because then once you've got the entertainment channel done, you've got your sponsors, you've got the money and the revenue coming in.
So you're looking at this from a pure stream-based perspective, aren't you, essentially?
Yeah, because no one's going to go.
You're looking at this purely from the perspective of a viewer watching it behind a camera.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that we probably have already proven, if not just simply on this channel as tiny as it is, that as a entertainment piece, watching 40k, it can be entertaining and people can have fun.
Yeah.
I think mostly on the whole, right? I'm not even talking about on the on-camera perspective. I'm talking about can it truly be a competitive sport? Can it ever actually truly be a properly competitive sport?
Yes.
Because we get to every single event and there's always an accusation somewhere, sometimes accurate, sometimes inaccurate, of someone having cheated. Someone has done something they shouldn't have been allowed to do. Someone has gone, oh, I forgot to do a psychic power, I need to do it now. Someone has nudged their water bottles on. There's all these stories that we'll probably know what I'm talking about when I say these things.
I think so. You can make it truly straight line competitive, but the rules you'd have to implement would make it become so incredibly sterile, it would be horrible. Like, everyone would have to use the same army, they'd have to use the same models.
But then it's not 40k.
Yeah.
Is it?
And then it's not Warhammer, it's just...
So what you're saying
it's just elaborate chess at that point.
So what you're saying is 40k as we currently play it can't be truly competitive.
No.
So it can't be an esport.
It can if it's gladiators.
However, there is 2 super chats.
I'll get to them. So Stephen Walsh, welcome to the channel. Thank you for becoming a member. You're a hero. Thank you so much. James Hobbs says most esports also don't have direct opponent-to-opponent interaction. It's normally through a screen, not stood either side of a small table. Also harder to claim loaded dice with computer games. Well, this is my point, though. This is what I'm saying, though, James. Like CS:GO, those kinds of computer games, Call of Duty, etc. They're not completely balanced. There's normally a weapon that's stronger than another weapon and stuff like that.
You get the meta choice weapon.
I've always said that true balance is just impossible in almost any game or sport. Even take chess, where your opponents have all got the same pieces, etc., etc. Someone goes first. Yeah. Therefore, there is an inherent imbalance in there.
Even like in football, one club's got more money than another club. They can buy the better players.
Yes,
they can
of course.
have better physios.
But when you're using a tape measure and inches to move something, and you're hovering and do it like it, you will never be that. You'd
have to have digital tables where it does the measuring for you.
Exactly. So we play. So then it becomes tabletop simulator.
Yeah.
Which for me is then again not 40k, because for me part of what is 40k is exactly what James is talking about. Having you or Chris or Eddie or Brom the other side of the table, and I'm playing with that person and I'm talking something. That is part of what the experience is for me of 40k. Yeah. Now I'm not saying we shouldn't have the LVO, and I'm not saying we shouldn't have tournaments. I'm not saying we shouldn't have the ITC. I quite like all those things, but in terms of making it a hyper-competitive sport, someone was talking over the weekend. I saw something on a stream somewhere. I can't remember which stream it was, and I can't remember who it was that was saying it. They're talking about things like cash prizes, and there should be this. I don't want that.
The moment you involve money, like an actual physical monetary value prize, is when you're going to start seeing the worst in some of the bad players. Or like the people, because you'll get people that will go to the tournament. They're like, I need that money. Like, I like playing Warhammer. I love playing Warhammer. And I'm okay, but I need that money. So I'm gonna win at all costs.
We've seen people doing some of the most heinous types of cheating without there being a major cash prize. There has been reports, again, for me personally unconfirmed. There has been reports of people that have baked dice, people that have bought PDF rules that they've modified, people that have submitted lists and then bought lists that are 200 points more, hoping their opponent won't notice. They've just got duplicates of units, so you wouldn't normally skim and go, so he's got, I don't know, suppressors, and then there's two on the table. You might just miss. There's people that already do that kind of stuff without there being a big cash prize. Now, strictly, I think if we were to go truly down the esports route, we would probably have to look at going down the route of there being a major first place prize at big events.
Well, there'd have to be, because once money starts going into the sport itself and into the channels, like people will be like, I'm paying money, but it's only going to the company. It's not going to the players.
Yeah, and when GW already gets enough hate for that as it is, so but then you introduce that cash prize again inherently because of the way 40k is. I would suggest. I mean, we play with Brom every fucking week. It's easier to cheat in 40k, right? You know Brom. He measures my favourite way. Brom does, right? So he puts his little model on the table like this, and he measures it out, and then he does that. You're like, 6 inches. That's good there, Brom. Well done, mate.
Well, he's front base to back of base, but with an extra 2 inches on top.
Yeah, exactly. I'm joking, obviously. Brom's not that bad, but
he is.
He's pretty bad. I still don't think we can ever make it truly competitive. I think we're at, with the exception of tweaking missions and stuff, we're kind of at the pinnacle of what is going to be competitive 40k, and I don't want it to go any further. I don't want it to go into like $20,000 cash prizes for first place at LVO. I don't want to ever see that.
I think if it goes truly competitive, then it has to be the fact that people need to be aware that it will never be a balanced competitive scene, ever. There will never be balance in this game.
Again, I think if we want there to be as much balance as there possibly can be, I think you're right. I think we end up needing to have essentially a separate rule set.
Yeah.
And everyone needs to go in with the same army of Space Marines, because at that point it is player skill versus player skill. But some people would argue as well that player skill also actually starts right at the list conception phase. So at the point in which you're stood there building a list, I mean, again, we can bring Brom into this.
Maybe Games Workshop writes the list.
We can bring Brom into this, like one of the most terrible list writers you've ever seen in your life. Like there was a time in the past where Brom was giving us his lists for his Ultramarines, and you looked at what he had available to him and was like, how is he writing a list that bad with what's on the shelf?
Like he ignores everything that he owns.
Big shout out to Chris Galloway, who super chatted and said, here's £20 towards Joe dressing as Jet Fund. It's officially a thing now. I mean, I don't think he needed the donation, Chris. I think he just done it anyway.
There. I just need the spandex, don't I?
Thank you, James, again. Also, don't forget Games Workshop are trying to make the 40k World Championships, because that won't bring out the worst of salty play. So this is part of the reason why I brought this topic up, James, is because of these World Championships they're talking about. And because LVO, as currently the biggest kind of reputable known tournament globally, we're still, like, the guys at Frontline Gaming know what they're doing. They're running a 900-person event, and they're running it well, and again, 99% of it goes completely smoothly, and they still have these problems, and they still have players getting carded at the event for certain things.
Well, maybe it's just become, if you go truly competitive, you just can't have big tournaments. We don't do it so much here, but like you have regionals, and then you have like whatever, and it goes bigger and bigger and bigger till you get to the fact where you have the World Championships, but there's only 20 people there. You know, like when you do the World Cup, how many teams are in the World Cup?
I don't know.
30?
I have no idea.
Right? And then
you're asking the wrong person.
And then they only play one game a day, sometimes two in the early knockout stages. So at that point, like it's just 1-on-1, like snooker in the oval. Then you've got 50, 60 people, maybe 100 people watching, sat looking down at the table. You ain't gonna cheat when there's all those eyes and all those cameras on you.
So we also talked about another thing. We talked about the fact that if you win LVO, you basically win ITC.
Yeah.
To some extent.
But that's only because of the ITC points that you gain, because the event is so big.
Yeah, right. So, but you can't have played no events all year, win LVO and win the ITC. That's highly unlikely.
It is very unlikely.
But, so you would have already had to put in some good performances. I found out at the weekend, I don't know how true this is, so pinch of salt, because this might not be entirely true. So there used to be distinct distinctions between RTT, GT, Major, Super Major.
Yeah.
Okay. And each of those different, so if you guys don't know, an RTT had to be a minimum of 1 day, 3 games.
It changed with COVID.
It could be 10 players.
Yeah.
A GT had to be a minimum of 28 players, 5 games over 2 days. A Major, a minimum of it was 58 players, and a Super Major used to have to be over 230 203 or 205 players.
Yeah.
And I think a major needed 7 games and a super major, I can't remember.
Yeah.
Anyway, they were essentially the categories of event, and it was typically to do with player size. And the points were weighted. So one of the reasons why LVO is so heavily weighted is because of how many people go. Yeah. I have heard rumour that they have now entirely scrapped the distinction in numbers of players between the different events, RTT, GT, Major, etc.
Yeah.
And instead, they're working the point system simply on number of players. So if you have a 27-player 5-day GT and a 28-player 5-day GT, they'll still both be GTs because they're 5 games. The points are just slightly weighted in the favour of the 28-player GT.
Oh.
Right?
Yeah.
Because it signifies, arguably, if you've got a 40-player RTT and a 28-player GT, sometimes the RTTs are... there was some janky shit going on with events where people were... suddenly a GT had 26 people and suddenly 2 TOs were registered, played game 1, got a 0-0 draw and dropped. Yeah. Just to make sure it was a GT. So there's janky things like that. There was also 57-player GTs, 5 games a weekend, versus a 58-player major, 5 games a weekend. Each person who's won each of those events has arguably worked as hard as the other.
Yeah.
However, one of them was heavily weighted in points, and now they won't be so different because the player numbers are about the same, which I think is a positive. But rocking up and running and playing the LVO at 900 people and winning it, should it be so heavily weighted that the player then arguably just has a free pass to winning the ITC if he's already got a couple of good results in his belt?
So instead of the points going from the lowest person up, so that's how they work it. So the lowest person always gets 1, and then it kind of goes up in based on how many people, because you can't. Whereas they did it the other way, top down. Right, so the person who wins the event, the maximum points for the ITC they score is 100. Whoever comes second, 99. Blah, 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 just works its way down every single time. And once you get to past the 100, everyone is just getting 1 point.
So I kind of like, in terms of the ITC winning, I kind of like the idea. If we are going to make it, so I'm personally a person who thinks I'm a person who doesn't think we can really truly make it a proper esport as is the current definition, and I also don't think I want to try and make it an esport as the current definition. I would rather not go down that route personally. However, if we are going to go down that route, if we are going to make it, if we're going to make Warhammer 40k truly an esport, and we are going to use ITC and ITC rankings, here's what I would do now, right? At the end of, so we're now in the end of the ITC season because LVA's finished, right? We're on the last day of January today, the 31st. What I would be doing if I was Frontline Gaming personally, this is again my opinion, is I would now go, okay, top 16 players in the ITC are now coming to an invitational.
Yeah.
Okay, so even if you've won LVO and you're top, you're now invited to a 16-player invitational for the top 16 players for the ITC, and you go into a World Cup style. You've got like not quarterfinals, whichever one the next one is, and then you've got quarterfinals, and you've got semi-finals, and you've got final. And they kind of do that with they kind of do that at LVO. But the problem they have is at LVO is the person who wins the LVO might not have won as many majors as the person in second place. Yeah. But he wins anyway. Yeah. Because of one event. But if you bring them to an invitational, someone who gets knocked off of top space because of the LVO and comes second can go into that invitational and still win that invitational. Yeah. I think we would need that kind of system to truly crown the champion. Yeah. I think at that point, what you would then have to do, again,
you've got Premier League, ITC's Premier League, and then you've got the Champions League,
essentially, right? Again, I'm spitballing here. This is not something I've thought about in depth. I've been thinking about it a little bit, hence the topic of the video today. But if you had 30 people or 16 people or whatever, let's say 16 people going into an invitational only, you probably have the capacity to stream every game over the weekend. Yeah. And I also think people are significantly less likely to attempt to cheat where they know there's 5,000 people on stream watching them.
Yeah. Like you have the multi-view, you can flick between tables if you want to.
So that's what I would do.
But then that, like for it to become an e-sport, then there needs to be a significant level and improvement on quality of the streaming. And also, it's not just the people that are playing, you need good announcement teams. The whole thing needs to be organised and set up so it doesn't look a shambles kind of thing. Like the whole thing just needs to run smooth and look good and clean. Because if you run one and you put a lot of effort into the first one and it's bad, the games are good and you have a champion, but the overall viewing quality of it is bad, no one will bother again. Because they'll be like, well, the first one was terrible. I'm not
Yeah, it's like a Hellstorm stream at that point.
Yeah,
I've watched one. There's no point watching another one.
Yeah, watch one. They're all the same. And they probably go like that.
Do you know what I forgot to do as well, team? I forgot to ask you to put questions in Discord. I'm going to do that right now.
Yeah.
Because I completely forgot to do it earlier.
Once you do that, I can have a look on the chat.
And what I'm going to do is once I put it in Discord, ask us questions for stream questions, then you can drop your questions below. We might answer some later.
Someone said they like my t-shirt. Primark. It's £4.
You've got so many more t-shirts than you need. There you go. There's a little notification in Discord. If you want to ask questions on the Liam and Joe show, drop them below. Matt Demon, thank you for the donation. Your hero. GW needs to focus more on narrative play, Crusade app, DLC type releases, and other goodies. Same sales effect as the esports rabbit hole. My 2 cents. So I've had this conversation a few times with a few people, and there's this this is an interesting segue, Jay. This is an interesting diversion. There's this argument that constantly exists. Who spends more, the competitive player or the narrative player? Where would your gut instinct tell you as to who spends more?
Gut instinct
Yeah.
would be top tier competitive players.
Okay, interesting.
Because when you're top tier competitive, you've always got to have that edge, haven't you? You're not playing because you love 40k. You might do because you love 40k. You're not playing because you love the books and you love the narrative. You're playing because you want to win. You go to the game and you're playing because you want to win.
Okay.
Right? So you always have to have the best one. So Games Workshop drops a new book. So obviously, for instance, World Eaters are out pre-order on Saturday.
They are out. Excited.
Right? So the new book drops on Saturday. Competitive player opens the book. Yes. Games Workshop buy. All of it. Get it done. And then they might release a new book 2 months later for someone else. The army's better than that one. Buy that one.
But
So competitive players are swapping out like every time the Games Workshop drops an FAQ, my list is invalid now. I have to now buy 100 gaunts for my Tyrannid list because everything's overpointed for the rest of it. You know?
I know a lot of competitive people that have 10,000 plus points of an army. So that's 4, if we consider point fluctuations and swapping units in and out. That's 4 competitive armies for one person.
Yeah.
You still think top
I
tier
know the
competitive?
answer to this question because I've seen them.
What?
The slavering masses of narrative players.
You can't call them that, Joe.
Because they're just excited.
It's you.
They're moist in the mouth, you know, from drooling. It's not lactating, is it? What's salivating?
I mean, yeah, lactate is what you do sometimes.
Yeah, because when you do a narrative event, right, you go and you play a game, and you're like, oh, I really enjoyed that game. Do you know what I wish I had? Centurions. No one ever says that answer. But and they go to this wall. They go to the wall. They've got them there. I'm going to buy them now.
I don't know. This is a hard one. I don't actually know where I sit. Who I think spends more money.
I think it's competitive.
I do believe that this particular edition of the game, as a player who enjoys casual more, so I love competitive. I like playing competitively. I don't shit on competitive because I enjoy it. But I also know when I'm going to competitive, I'm going to come up against hardcore lists. People are going to be playing super hard. People will be playing sweaty. That's fine. That's what I'm expecting. I'm going to a tournament.
Yeah.
I also love super narrative where we just make shit up. And I'm not expecting to win. I just care about telling a good story. But my favourite way, and the thing we try and push on the channel the most, is kind of that in-between. That casual beer hammer, garage hammer type vibe is what we typically try and push.
Chris, who's like, I'm playing Joe,
Yeah.
I'm going to smash.
So Chris and Paddy are super sweaty, but the rest of the team, Chris and Paddy and Eddie are super sweaty. Chris and Paddy and Eddie are super sweaty and Brom's really try hard, but the rest of the team just enjoy casual 40k, right?
I'm just going to say quietly.
Yeah. But we know out of all of us who spends the most amount of money on the hobby.
But I have kind of felt in this edition, as a person who probably leans in that central group who leans a little bit more towards narrative than competitive, I felt a bit of a disconnect from GW this edition. I don't feel like they've done as well at supporting the narrative players. I think they've done quite well, if not they've done too much supporting competitive, and we actually talked about this on stream last week, where I was like, the updates are too regular now. They went from nothing, which was terrible, and to through the sweet spot of updates, and they've now gone too far away. They need to bring it back to about here, and I think we're then right with the number of updates.
I think the problem with, I'm sorry if they're watching, I'm saying the problem with Games Workshop, right, with their narrative play, is that it's wildly too complicated. So you've got competitive 40k, streamlined, well supported. Here's your layout, do it, play it like this, pick up and go. If you want to play narrative, the only way of doing it narratively, apart from boarding action, the only way of doing it narratively is Crusade. And that is a hot mess.
I was a Crusade playtester.
Yeah.
I don't like Crusade.
And
I know there'll be people in the chat that tell me I play Crusade and I love it. More power to you. It's great, but I don't like it. In fact, and it's not even about being so admin heavy necessarily, because our narrative events that we're running at Factorum are arguably in places more admin heavy, but the way in which it's put, the way in which you have that experience at the weekend is a whole different ball game, and a lot of the missions are custom made. So if we look at, actually, interestingly, this is interesting, if we look at what we've put together for that narrative pack, there's a 69-page player pack for the narrative event. And if we look at, because we've got lots of individual special things for each individual faction, so there's lots of detail. So you don't necessarily need to read all 69 pages. If you know you're coming to the narrative event as a Eldar player, you need to read the first few pages for how it works, and then the Eldar page is all you need, right? Anyway, if you look at that pack of 69 pages and you look at how much of the current rule set in terms of missions, etc., are in that pack, it's almost nothing.
Yeah.
So I don't feel like the support for narrative players has been great. Now, I will add the caveat, narrative players arguably don't need as much support because they just make shit up and have fun.
It's relatively self-governing, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's less feel-bad moments in narrative play because the players are here to tell a story and just have fun. So I don't feel like they need policing as much, but it would be boarding actions I'm so positive about at the moment, and I'm so behind boarding actions because they're literally going, hey, here's a new sandbox to play in as narrative players. Although we've been doing the missions, we also had to go at just making our own boarding actions.
I think, and there's a lot of openness and freedom in terms of, like, they've given you how to build your army, but you can go, I'm not going to ignore that because I want to play with my own homemade narrative Inquisition army, my warband.
We did it the first time round by accident, but we ignored the boarding actions rules for the first time round, and I took 2 units of Scions despite the fact I'd only been allowed 1. You took 2 units of Gene Stealers despite being only allowed 1. But in terms of an infested Space Hulk, Guard playing against Gene Stealers, it was more narrative. Ironically, probably the closest game of boarding actions we've had so far on the channel.
So what we're saying is, if you have a bad time playing narrative, one of the 2 people at the table is making it bad. You're a bad person.
But I have felt like the support for narrative has come at the end of this.
Yeah.
I just don't feel like it's been as... And you could argue that every codex has had Crusade rules in it, which is in itself narrative support, but I'm personally not a fan.
I like the idea of going to a narrative event with my pre-made narrative army, and that's the army I use for the whole weekend. Because I'm one of those people that's like, I want to go and do a Crusade event at Warhammer because it sounds fun, because I know a lot of people have gone, but I want to go, I don't care about who's gained wounds, who's gained honours, who's lost things. I just want to use my cool army that I made and I painted. I just want to use it 5 times. It's super narrative. Kane's in it and I've got loads of artillery. I'm just going to shoot at you. I don't care if I lose. I just want to use that 5 times and have fun.
Big shout out to Parabilgrim, who's gifted 5 memberships on the channel.
Hello.
You legend.
Yes.
If you have been gifted membership, !Discord, come and join us in the Great Hall. Don't miss out. And also, because he's gifted it at Skull tier, you'll get to hang out on our last video of January, our members only stream tonight, where we are in fact actually playing competitively. And we've got Grey Knights versus Raven Guard.
Raven.
You're brave. Or stupid, one of the two.
I didn't have a great time versus Paddy the other day.
No.
We just played casually.
Paddy doesn't do that.
No. He was quite aggressive towards my army. But I think Chris is still learning the Grey Knights. There's no point me taking competitive Black Legion or whatever.
I've also forgotten the model.
Okay.
Oh yeah, Chris has forgotten the models. He's already paying at a points deficit.
So there's no point bringing me a competitive army that I'm really good at using, because there'd be no match, you know. Because I'm brilliant and he's terrible. No, I'm joking. I might as well bring an army that's a bit subpar that he can learn his army with, but we can still do narrative competitive play.
Is this you just getting excuses in early?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Heretic Dave, thank you for the donation. Competitive 40k tournaments may not raise more money from the player base, but might raise the exposure of GW brand and bring people in. So again, if we look at if we look at this weekend, right? So we as a channel are at 21,000 subs, and for game streams we can sit between 200 to 300 live viewers, which is actually, it doesn't sound great, but if you look at other channels that exist out there, it's actually quite good on the whole, right? Viewers to sub base numbers for live is actually quite good, right? I was watching a streamer earlier who's Call of Duty with 400,000 subscribers. He was live with 1,000 people. So actually, I'm quite happy with our numbers. It's actually really good. War Games live this weekend, 10,000 subs they got this weekend. They were sat at sometimes over 1,200 live viewers watching a show. So I think there is definitely an audience for competitive, Dave. I agree with you. And raising awareness of GW brand and the game system, I'm all for, and I think that's positive, and I think that's why I want to keep seeing these big events streaming, and why the guys at War Games Live are doing such a great job. However, if what people tune into is 3 hours of two grown men bickering, I don't know if that's the kind of exposure GW wants.
No, I think because it's not representative of what Warhammer is it? Competitive, top tier, competitive 40k is not representative of what Warhammer is at its soul, all right? And also, those tables are very sterile MDF L shapes, right? You want your top 10 tables to be the same layouts as everyone else, but these top 10 tables, which will be on the streams, need to look glorious, right? Like better than anything I can do, right? They need to look beautiful, and the armies that go onto the tables need to look stunning. Yeah, right.
I agree.
Because you'll find when you go to competitive events, there's people that just put in the bare minimum. Like I have spray painted it black, and I put some dots on it, and it looks great. Well, I think when you go to an event, when you've got someone who's basically put in the bare minimum effort because they want to run their new meta list that they found on the internet 2 weeks ago, compared to the person that's been painting the same army for 10 years, and it looks incredible.
I have in the past played against the Space Marine army, this is a true story, right, which was undercoated black.
Yeah.
They had some Agrellan Earth or something on the base.
Yeah.
One blue, one green, red eyes, done.
Yeah.
Like the gun, everything else was all just undercoated black.
Yeah, like when you watch Premier League football, right? It is not like it's not a bunch of reasonably fit men running around a park, are they? In dingy Coventry, you know? Right, where like there's half a net and it's filmed on a bunch of people's iPhones. But it's in a multi-million-dollar stadium and it looks incredible. And these guys are all stripped out and it all looks really good. That's what competitive 40. That's what streams should look like. They should be beautiful. So when you look on it, and you go, "Wow, that looks amazing." I want my games to be like that.
As much as I hated playing against that particular Space Marine army, my opponent was great, lovely person, etc. As much as I didn't like the army I played against, I would argue that actually, for truly ESport competitive 40k, it's fine. It's irrelevant. It doesn't make a difference. They're chess pieces at that point.
If I was Games Workshop, I would want every single stream to be inspirational.
No,
everyone should
and
be
of course,
an advert for selling.
If we talk about Heretic Dave's super chat specifically, yes, I would agree with you. If you're wanting to showcase your product, you want to showcase the best version of your product. Yeah. Always, any business is the same, right? If you're showcasing your new car range, you're showcasing your brand new top spec new car. You're not showcasing some shitty banger.
Yeah.
You're gonna always want to showcase the best version of your product. You know, it's the same as when the film industry chucks out a trailer. How many times do you watch a trailer and then you go and watch the film and you think, "Fuck me, all the best bits were in the trailer"? You're always going to want to show off the best version of your product because that's what encourages people to spend their money. 100% you do. However, if we're not talking about it being a marketing tool and we're talking about it being competitive in an esport, does it matter if someone's models are really truly painted? Like, I would argue that as a true esport, as a true competitive thing, as a competitive entity, you don't actually need to base coat them at all. You could leave them as grey plastic.
Oh.
But, and I agree with you.
Yeah. So what we need to do, what we're saying, right? We're saying is that Games Workshop should take over the entire competitive scene, right? The big final should be at Warhammer World, right? And then all the top level games should be filmed in their funky studio. You know, where Henry Cavill was drinking his tea, showing off his muscles and stuff, and everyone's very excited, right? It should be filmed in there, right? And they go, before you go on the table, they go, "What's your army?" And they look at it, and they go, "We'll put that on stream because that looks lovely." And they go to the other guy, "That's a piece of shit." you should be ashamed. And then they should strike him, and then they should take him to the Hall of Miniatures and be like, please take your army off our shelves, and we'll put that army on the stream. Because we have your army in the miniatures, because they have all the miniatures.
No, but this is what I'm saying. I want to play against pretty armies. I want to play against people that have put their effort in. But this is my personal opinion and my personal preference. I am much happier playing someone with a beautiful army than I am playing someone who has put minimal to no effort in. What I'm saying is, though, from a competitive perspective as the game, unless you introduce soft hobby scoring as part of that competitive element, and you're then competing with how good your paint job is, and I think that becomes too complicated and too opinion-based. If you're literally looking at it from a tactical game perspective, chess isn't fancy painted, Joe. They're black and white pieces. Because you wouldn't need, because they're just chess pieces at that point.
Yeah. But chess isn't even competitive either, because someone always goes first. Can I do a complete,
said that.
Can I do a complete aside here?
You can, of course.
Because you mentioned a trailer, and I saw a trailer today, which is the peak of cinema.
Was it the one you woke up in?
No. My Facebook showed it to me, right? It's called Cocaine Bear.
What?
Cocaine Bear. It's an actual film that's been made. Money's gone into this. It's a real life story, right? About a drug dealer has thrown drugs out of a plane, right? And it's landed in the forest. A bear has eaten said cocaine and just gone on a rampage through just attacking people. And it's like a comedy horror. I watched the trailer. Go and watch it after the stream.
Can we do our own narrative version?
It's got either Cam or Mitch from Modern Family, and that's
Yeah.
what I know about it.
Can we do our own comedy version of campaign of Cocaine Polar Bear?
Yeah. I watched that trailer and I was like, we have reached the peak of cinema. We cannot, nothing will ever beat a film than Cocaine Bear.
I don't think that's true. I don't think we've reached the peak there, Jay.
Nothing that Marvel or DC puts out ever again will be as good as that film.
Yeah, okay. All right.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got to have Ocean's 18 yet. Thanks, James Hobbs. To be fair, there were armies this weekend that hit the minimum to count as painted, and that's from people who should know better. But should they? But what do you mean they should know better, though? This is my issue, where it's so subjective about what is acceptable standard at the tabletop.
Games Workshop has a written rule on
yes,
what is
so
acceptable.
battle ready.
Yeah.
So I would argue that everything that was there this weekend was battle ready at the very least.
Yeah.
Easily battle ready at the very least. And the problem with using this as a metric is it's very subjective. Even then, battle ready they do give you a guide, but it's also subjective as to how well applied or that is or isn't, how much effort's gone in. It's weird. We live in a world where 40k competitive says you get 10 points if your army is battle ready. Have you ever known anyone not to get to that 10 points? Everyone starts. We start the. I mean, we have to. We're on stream, but everyone starts the game at 10-10. Why have the points in there then? You might as well not bother.
Yeah, because I've gone to events where people have been let through the doors because they need to make numbers up, and their army looks like it's been hit with a pressure washer full of paint, right? And then hit with a paintball gun afterwards.
But
and they've somehow still got 10 points.
But do you know for a fact that is at least not their best effort? Because for some people, we all have different skill levels. You cannot apply what you think is acceptable to somebody else's ability. No, you can't. You just can't.
As chat said, you enjoy painting.
Yeah.
I hate painting, but I'll do the
But
minimum.
there
effort
are,
on the
as you
tabletop, so
discovered,
it's not
there are commission painting services available.
I have
Just not
people.
yours.
I have people that when they're playing, they're putting the model down like this, right? I'm not taking the piss. This is genuinely what they do. So you can imagine them with a paintbrush in their hand.
Yeah.
Right? They may have done their best on their model, and that they might actually we might even get to the point where they're actually quite proud of what they've done. And you might look at it from the other side of the table and think, that's a bag of knob. I hate that.
We should have tournaments where we have bouncers at the door who have the mentality of a nightclub bouncer at 2 o'clock in the morning in Harlow. Right? The moment you walk up, they should open your case and be like, no, and then slap it on the floor. It's not in my club.
This is the thing.
Too many Space Marines in there.
The reason why the 2-colour minimum used to exist was to make sure people weren't just turning up with pure grey plastic. I don't like this weird 10 points thing for painted or non-painted. I think if a tournament wants to set a standard for their particular event, that's fine. And if a tournament wants to say you need to have at least 2 to 3 colours, or it needs to be at least battle ready before you can play, I think that's perfectly okay.
Sarius made a good point in chat that the hobby is separate to the game.
The hobby is very separate. You probably can't all hear Chris properly, unfortunately. The hobby is, so he's right, Sarius is right, the hobby is separate to the game. And there are, I would argue, if we go on the triangle of players, whichever way around you want to do it.
Pyramid.
The bottom widest group of people are probably the people that are into the narrative of 40k, into the hobbyists, into the players, into the tournament players.
Competitive players are a niche within a niche within a niche within a niche.
Yes.
Like they are such a tiny amount of people within the hobby community.
Mark and Andrew Rainbow Park can fuck off, by the way. If your tanks have holes in the bottom, are they battle ready?
Yes. Well, there's lots of tanks with holes in the top, and no one argues about them.
That's a great comment, by the way. It's really hard to. I'm not against competitive 40k. I actually enjoy it. I enjoy playing it. I'm looking forward to this season. If you guys aren't already aware, and if you're not in Discord, we're launching a team this season that comes from our Discord community. Am I expecting to get anywhere near the top 10 of ITC? Am I fucked? Top 100? Probably still not. But
our team will still do better than Triad, to be honest.
just because it's got a better name. Yeah. So that aside, we're launching a competitive team because I'm looking forward to going to events, meeting people, playing games of 40k, and just pitting myself against other players. And I'm probably going to mostly get thrashed because that's not my primary way of playing.
I find, like with competitive play, like I think the best thing to do when you go to an event is you have to set your own personal goal. Winning the event is a terrible personal goal, because you have to be very real with yourself. Like if I go to this event, am I going to win it? Like, and 9 times out of 10, it's like probably not. So you set your own personal goal. You want to go, I want to take my army and go as far as I can. I want to take this absolute trash army and win a game. You know, some people who are starting events, they're just like, I just want to win a game.
The thing is, there's so much variability in it as well. The first pairing on any event ever is always random. So you might walk to your first ever walk. You will definitely be walking. You might go to your first event, your first ever major competitive event. You might decide to go to a big event. It might be I'm going to Beachhead this next month. Yeah. Might be Beachhead. You might walk up to so you might get drawn. You might think I'm not a very good player. I haven't played a tournament in a couple of years, but I'm going to have a go. You might draw your first player. You might draw a Manny Kima or a Nassim or a Steve Bott. You might draw one of those people and go, I've instantly lost my first game. Yeah. Right? Because they're just flat bet. If I drew a Manny, with all of the armies we've got access to, if I drew a Manny Kima, he's beating me. Almost definitely. Manny's just a great player. If you look at any of those people who are the top 8 of the ITC, of the LVO, sorry, they're probably beating Nick Nanavati, a Mike Porter. They're all beating me. That's just a fact. That's just happening, and that's okay. It's not Sean Naden. They're just thrashing me. That's not a problem. But this is what I'm saying. When you go to an event, I'm going to win this event. Be real. There's too many random elements to know that. And if you get lucky and you pair into a good matchup turn 1, and then you get paired into a good matchup game 2, there's a possibility just through the luck of the pairings you have a slightly easier route to the end game. Yeah. And not only that, take just the pairings away. This is why I question whether it can truly ever be a proper esport. We're using dice. And we're not even using the same dice.
I hate Math Hammer. I will die on that hill. Math Hammer is the worst thing ever. Because when you do something, they're like, that shouldn't have happened. How has that happened? Because I'm rolling cubes with dots on them. Right?
Eddie's in chat. Jog on, Liam. Trial were top 10 last time I checked. How many events did you play in? Yeah. That's all I want to know.
What's your contribution to the team, apart from naming it?
Yeah.
A terrible name.
Just as what other competitive teams do, just sign people for their results.
Yeah. Just find the best players, buy them.
Right, we've run out of super chats, and there's no more gifted memberships just yet. By the way, you can't make me spend a voucher tonight because it's members only. So.
We need 94 people quickly to become members.
Joe, I've just paid my tax bill.
Minimum tier.
Joe,
it's going to be top tier.
I've just paid my tax bill.
Yeah.
I do not need to be giving away any more vouchers.
Yeah, you do.
No, I don't.
If I comment during a stream, can I still go in for the £100 voucher?
Well, if you remember.
If I'm playing as well.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah, but if you win it, I'm just redrawing straight away.
Yeah.
Right, so I'm going to jump in Discord. So if you are a member and you are on the Discord server, what we also do, and I should have done it yesterday and I forgot, is we open up the stream questions thread for the Liam and Joe show, and then we get you the opportunity to ask questions. Now, if you put a question in there, we don't guarantee we're going to answer it. We'll pick some at random. We'll probably be doing it for 15 to 20 minutes maximum, depending on what the questions are. We might not get through all of them. If we don't get to your question, wait till next week, drop another question, and then we might get to that one. It might be that I just skipped past it. It might be that I read it and thought it was a shit question.
Yeah.
Do better.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Major ring sting, meaning of life. No? You want to do that question? What's the meaning of life, Jay? There's one answer.
Is it 40?
42, isn't it?
42. I was going to say 47.
Ricky asks a cool question for you, actually, as a hobbyist. Which AOS faction would you kit bash into a 40k army? I know what I would do.
Are we including demons in this?
No, because that's not kit bashing, Joe. That's just building models.
The easiest one to do... Orcs, probably. That's the easy fix, because it's just the same.
I would like to kit bash Nighthaunt into a Necron army.
That would be cool.
I'll go dragons into something.
Yeah. I just like the idea of resurrecting ghosts, essentially, is kind of cool.
I've seen some really cool conversions where people have taken the ghosty guys and then put the...
Nerga Matthews in chat.
The Rust Stalker guys, put their arms in there. So they're like... Yeah, evil ghost Admech guys. I love the whole vampire range.
Yeah, they're cool.
That would make a really
Blood
good...
Angels.
I was going to say Death Guard.
Oh, for the zombies and
For
stuff.
all the
Right,
zombies, all the skeletons. And
I'd be
then,
like Flesh Eater Courts, though, wouldn't it, more? For
no,
Death Guards?
No, because obviously obviously the main aspect of Nurgle is that big old thick daddies, all gross and fat, but then there's also aspects of the Nurgle stuff they never really talk about. It's like the fully decayed, like really sunken skin skeleton type people.
I'd quite like to use Idneth Deepkin as Drakari.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of those.
So the eels would be like the Reavers and stuff like that. They just kind of got that similar vibe. I think that'd be quite cool. I like that one. Right, cool. Thank you, Ricky. You're a hero. What advice would you give to someone starting the tournament scene that says Big Bad Pete? Big Bad Peter Gaming. What advice would we give someone starting the tournament scene? So, first things first, just know your codex as best as you possibly can. There's nothing worse than rocking up to a tournament and you don't even know your own rules. We do not expect you to know your opponent's rules, and I'm also okay with you reading the mission and going, right, I think I know how that works on the day, but just know your own rules is the first one. I would always say to a new player, for your first 2 to 3 events, don't expect to win a game.
Yeah, just go to have fun. Just go to your event to figure out how competitive play works.
What I would also be doing is I would be looking at my army and my faction and my codex, and I would be looking at my grand tournament pack if you can fucking get hold of it, sort it out, Games Workshop. And I would probably be taking 3 passive secondaries that don't require my opponent, so I just can go, I know I'm picking the same 3 secondaries every game, and I can just focus on my play.
In fairness, right, the competitive player pack is on the 40k app. However, you can't access it unless you have a code for it, which you only get from buying it. But it is on there.
Wikipedia. So I'd pick 3. Like if you pick like, I don't know, let's say for sake of argument, engage in all fronts, retrieve battlefield data, and another one that's passive. At least you know. Say you've got a cycle, you might pick Warp Ritual, right? You go, okay, I know I'm coming to the table with the same 3 secondaries every single time. In 2-3 events time, you can start to tailor your secondaries and go, I've got 1 or 2 guaranteed, and the third one depending on my opponent.
I'd do a Brom and just mega streamline your army. Brom's a big fan of where he has lots of units the same that do the same thing and function the same.
You do that.
But like, instead of basically going to an event and just doing Highlander where every unit is completely different in your army and functions wildly different, do what I do, the rule of 3. 3 of each unit that all functions the same, and then you can learn how they synergize and what they do. And then when you do your first event and you figure out how it goes, the next event you can then branch out, do more stuff.
I would also advise genuinely going to a smaller event as your first one. So if you come to one of our GTs, for example, at the Factorum, because I think that's where you're looking to go, that's actually really great for new players. The kind of clientele that's there are kind of mostly really easy. We only get a couple of sweats that turn up every now and again, and that's pretty rare actually on the whole. Super chilled. People are very relaxed. We're relaxed with timings. TOs will help you. It's a really good way of learning how an event works, because we still use BCP, and we still have timings, and we still do awards, and we still have best in factions, and we still all that kind of stuff. But it's just a nice chill way of learning how an event runs. Turn up with 0 expectations. Anything else is a bonus, right? Simple as that.
Bring snacks.
Bring snacks.
Yeah.
Bring snacks is well, not even bring snacks because our place sells loads of snacks
Spend pocket money
for snacks.
just for snacks. Yeah. Yeah, like always have a drink, always have snacks.
Sit when you can
Yeah.
because it's a tiring day playing
Yeah,
3 games
wear
of 40k.
Comfortable shoes that you can stand in all day,
Yeah.
but not like because like I tried wearing slippers once, but the cushioning goes away after about 2-3 hours, and then it's just floor. You just,
The other thing you can do as well is shower.
have deodorant in your bag.
Right. Exile. Is Arks of Omen Angron too soon after Arks of Omen Abaddon has been released to the general public? So I don't know if we've got a release date for that yet. Have we been showcasing a release date? I mean, they're showing off on the community page, so maybe we have. If we have, then yes, I would say yes.
I'll have a gander.
Because we haven't even got through all the missions on Arks of Omen Abaddon yet, and they put more boarding actions missions in the latest White Dwarf. So we haven't got through all those.
The thing is, though, like, obviously for a channel, we do 2 streams a week, and we've done 2 a week, or we've done 1 a week, for instance. Like, I think for like if you're at home and there's just 2, like if you go to the club,
Yeah.
you play with your mates, you could probably get 2 or 3 games of Arks of Omen in a night.
Easy.
Yeah.
Easy. 100%.
So you could smash through. I'm just checking on the Warhamster community now.
Yeah, okay.
What day are we on today?
It's the 31st of January, Joe. It's a Tuesday. It has been since you woke up. It will be until you go to bed.
I'm trying to find the Sunday preview thing.
What's... James Hobbs says, this is interesting actually. Will you host... Hang on, no, this isn't James Hobbs. Mikey says, will you be hosting Looking to Host narrative events like the great one you told us about at your new location? Yes, we will, 100%.
Arks of Omen Angron is out.
Khan says, when are you going to play a Lord of Skulls? We don't have a Lord of Skulls.
I could run...
Arks of Omen Angron is out.
No, it goes on pre-order on Saturday.
See, that's too soon, I think. It feels like they're content cramming now before a new edition.
They've got 2 more books announced, haven't they?
There's 4 in total that we've been showcased.
Yeah,
we've been showcased Abaddon, Angron, Vashtor, and then Xenos. We don't know what that is
Can
yet.
we just talk about how terrible that model is?
I like it.
It hurts my soul. It's too Skeletor-y. It looks like a cartoon baddie. I love Chaos. I know that's like what all 40k is, but it's just something derpy. My thing is though, I have recently like seen pictures of models that have been, and I've gone, that is a terrible model, and then I've built it and played with it and painted it. So actually, it's actually a very nice model. I blame Games Workshop photography team. Yeah.
James Hobbs says, what's the worst example of cheating or cheat calling you've seen? I honestly don't think I've ever really experienced proper cheating.
I've had people who have like got rules wrong, and it's one of those it is an accident. You just don't know your rules or something. I've been accused of having loaded dice once before. I was like, I've rolled a dice and it's gone like 6, 6, 6, and then he's like, "Can you roll that again?" And it's like 2, 3, 4, and he's like, "Oh." It just seems to be stuck on.
I've been to an event before where one individual, 2 to 3 games, accused their opponents of having loaded dice.
Yeah.
It's always their opponent's fault, loaded dice.
Yeah, but that's like their problem because they can't deal with it.
But that was never an official accusation. It was no card.
No.
So I don't think I've ever, maybe I've just been lucky, but I don't think I've ever really, like, I've also played opponents where I'm like, people could have called them for cheating, but they're not cheating. Like, I think the word cheating gets thrown around loads, right? Yeah. And there's a distinct difference between intentional and unintentional cheating. Arguably, they're both cheating.
I had one once where I played someone who had a Riptide. No, it wasn't. What's the one above Riptide?
The Town Art, not the
Town
Storm
Art,
Surge.
The Storm Surge, where he's moved forward, engaged its things, shot me hitting on 2s, moved the next move, engaged it, shot me, constantly, and you can't do that. And it wasn't until I went and when I talked to someone afterwards, and like, you can't do that. And the guy, I said to the guy, "Are you sure this can happen? Because like that's mad. You can't. I'm surprised it can do that." He goes, "Yeah, in the book it says you can." And then it wasn't until afterwards I looked in the book, and it was very specific. It says you can't.
Yeah, but I often
but then
find
I was like, is that just a case of they read it, they did a brom, they read it, they interpreted the rules as how it was, and then never check those rules again.
I do often. I do think that more often than not always, but more often than not, it's a genuine. So
I did it with guard orders.
There's intentional and unintentional in terms of cheating, and intentional is the one that is the heinous crime. And I feel like most of the time that is not what we're seeing.
I think cheating is often just referred to as people who are just very difficult to play against as well. I've played against some very difficult people where they question everything. You do that. Oh, can you move that far? Yes. Like, I'm going to do this. Are you sure? And it's like, oh, what gun's I'm going to shoot now? Oh, are you sure that's the strength? But
I do that to Brom.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't know.
I know, but I'll do it at an event, and you'll be 4 turns in, and they're still like, are you sure it can move that far? Are you sure? And I'm like, yes. I've done it 3 turns before. I'm still doing it now.
I've definitely played against people who have unintentionally done things that aren't quite right, and I've called people, like, I've had that conversation with them. I'm like, are you 100% sure? Like, can you have a look at the strat or whatever? Because I know that they're doing it wrong, and most often I'm like, oh shit, yeah, that's not right.
I think it's normally. I think the terms of cheaters, how they react to being not called out, but then shown to be wrong. So
I often don't blame people either, though. When you think about the layered complexity that exists currently and the fucking endless FAQs that exist all over the place, I often feel like I can't necessarily blame people when they do get something wrong. We had this experience this last weekend with a rule where we couldn't find the FAQ, and I dug for half an hour, and I finally found it, and a little sentence on a little FAQ download somewhere. I was like, there it is. And that's currently the rule in play, so I could go give them a ruling.
But it's not easy to find.
I had TO that I had to go and find. I had to spend half an hour finding that fucking rule. It wasn't like they asked me the question. They were stood opposite each other at the table. They hadn't started playing. They're like, this is probably going to come up. What's the ruling? Because we both think differently. And I had to literally take a seat next to them and go through all the FAQs and downloads. Like, I've definitely seen a ruling about this. Where is it? And eventually I found it.
I had something like that. It's like a Nottingham GT where it came up, where my opponent was like, my knight or my Baneblade. It's a big, super heavy. He can hold both objectives. And I was like, no, he can't. A model can hold one objective. A unit can hold multiple objectives. He was like, show me the rule. And I was like, don't make me do this because I don't know where that rule is, but I know it exists. I know it is out there. And then it was one of those ones where it took, like the TO, like yourself, half an hour of having to go through multiple PDFs, multiple books, multiple rulings to finally find that one sentence. And at that point, I was just like, just have it, because that time is gone now. It has moved on.
Big thanks, Lone Monkey Productions. Sorry, but paid questions take precedence over free questions, right? I'm loving boarding actions, but it annoys me to no end that the army stratagems are being spread across all these books. Breaks balance immediately.
Yes.
So what they're talking about is with Arcs of Omen and Angron, they're showcasing stratagems for certain factions in that book, which means when that book drops, some armies will have some stratagems available to them in Arcs of Omen, and other armies will still have none apart from the 3 core. And that then starts the whole 9th edition release all over again, where some armies have got...
That's right, because...
Yeah, I know.
What they should have done...
What we're saying, Lone Monkey Productions, is it also annoys us.
It's so annoying, because, like, right, why... I said from the beginning, I hope they don't do army-specific stratagems. They just have universal stratagems. Add a couple in. If you want to add stratagems, because we know they will, because there's a lot of CP in play that never gets used, just use those on more universal stratagems. Keep the game simple. The reason why Arcs of Omen, the boarding actions is so good is because it's pure and it's simple, but it's contained.
The other thing is, if you're introducing generic stratagems that's available to everybody, it keeps the balance.
Yeah.
It's available to everybody. Yes, they are releasing faction-specific stratagems, Jay.
Does that mean there's going to be like faction-specific... They're not warlord traits, are they? Enhancements.
Thank you, Bimo. Hi, chat, Liam. I appreciate it the other day. So this was our last Liam and Joe and Liam show, when you highlighted the Australian prices. If you review products, please keep highlighting the price in Australian and New Zealand dollars. Yeah. It's a problem, and it's something that...
Yeah. But we don't also want to depress everyone in those countries.
Yeah, it's something that I don't think I'm going to actually affect any change on, but it is a problem.
Yeah.
It's a massive problem, because quite frankly, comparatively, it's a rip-off.
Oh, yeah.
It's not even close.
I used to work for a shop called Triple Hornets War Games, and we used to get a guy who lived in Japan, who was British, a British citizen, lived in Japan, who would come over here, buy in bulk, and then post it to himself, and then he'd then send it to all his friends in all these other countries.
If I wasn't about to this year probably open a shop and be a Games Workshop stockist, I would actually quite happily go into Discord and take orders from our Australian and New Zealand people and send it to them. But I also don't want to piss off the GW retail team when I'm probably about to have a big contract with them.
That's not a great move.
It would be a poor decision, that.
Yeah.
Right. There was a message also that I saw from, I was going to murder his name, Norciel Le Sombre, I think. 5 a.m. streaming in the US makes it difficult to get any work done. Why are you working at 5 a.m? Great start to the work day, thanks. You're a hero, thanks for joining us. We've got kind of lucky, actually. This stream, and when it goes live, with people getting up in the US, means we get a lot of US viewers, which we weren't catching in some of our evening streams because they're all at work. Complete fluke. I just picked 1:30 because Joe doesn't like getting out of bed in the morning.
When I imagine America, I always imagine America from television. So I imagine them there with their glass coffee cup, their nice luxury kind of condo, watching us on a big screen.
Yeah. Wait, Liam, you're going to open the store. Tell me it's near Southampton. Eastleigh, so yes. Big shout out to one of our biggest members, big throbbing members ever.
Juicy.
Big bad John McCardle, who's just dropped 50 memberships in chat.
Yeah.
What a way to end January. Thank you, John.
Great. Thank you. Also, not to sound ungrateful, we only need
No.
44.
I genuinely can't afford vouchers in the next month, Joe. Stop
46.
it.
46, massive Joe. No, we're on 56, we only need 44.
Stop it.
Yeah.
I genuinely can't afford the vouchers in the next month. I've just paid my tax bill. Anyway, big shout out, John. Thank you so much. I need you to DM me on Discord. I've got an idea I want to throw at you, John.
Those 56 people, ! Discord, go and join the weirdos that we're already surrounded by.
! Discord, come and join the Great Hall server. Yeah. He says, just came in here at the end, missed the discussion, sounds like it was a good one. Well, I actually think it was quite a good discussion in the end, on the whole. Chat was moving quite quickly, and we didn't get to you people. Obviously, my Talking Head streams on Wednesdays and Fridays, and sometimes Sundays, is when I sit and directly talk to you people in chat. The bonus with the Liam and Joe show is it's me and Joe chatting to each other. So I do genuinely appreciate all your input, and I'm very grateful that chat's moving and you're all talking to each other. But for this particular show, if you really want to grab our attention, it's probably going to have to be a super chat. I don't like saying that. I genuinely don't like saying that. And we will jump in there every now and again. But otherwise, save comments and stuff for the normal Talking Head streams in my office, because then I'm directly talking to you people in chat. John has also said just something that was talked about was doing sports betting on things like LVO. That's fucking dangerous.
What we did many moons ago, when I was on that other channel, right, is when COVID was a thing, they did no LVO, or LVO Nopen.
Yeah.
It was called, where all the channels were involved, and then basically each person wrote a list. So I did Custodes, Boxy did Blood Angels. No, he did Sisters, right? And then basically we played a game, and then whoever won, the other next channel would then play a game with that winning army versus one of their armies, for instance. And then it goes through the people until the final, and then the original person in the final then plays their game versus blah blah. Or whoever was hosting the final, which I think was Titans, then ended up doing it. So although that person didn't play that army all the way through, it's so the competitive edge is like, because it didn't win. I think it was Eldar or something in the end. But it's like that Eldar army won, not the player. The person who wrote the army gets some kudos, but it was the army, the faction that won it.
John said betting would be an interesting discussion. Actually, would be an interesting discussion. I'm not against it either, but I think that if you consider the main sort of things we were talking about at the start of the stream, I know, John, you've missed it, but if you look at I don't know, a Brad Chester versus a Sean Naden, right? And you looked at their armies, you looked at what they were running, and you could see their army lists on BCP, and you could see how they play. And I think you could make an informed decision, which betting arguably needs to be an informed decision.
You'd have to know player, armies, previous wins and losses, and then you'd also need to know mission as well. The mission is also massively key.
Yes, you would. But again, player pack, you probably already know that.
Yeah.
So you could make an informed decision. The problem I have is, if you're betting large sums of money, Because let's face it, most of us, if we've ever bet on a football match or a rugby game or whatever it might be, or the lottery for argument's sake, are putting 5-10 quid in. Some people, when it gets to betting, and especially when we're talking about Vegas, are putting significantly higher amounts of money in. Yeah. If you're putting high amounts of money in and people are measuring their distances with a tape measure, that's a capital risk, I think.
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean?
You almost want it to be like an accumulator, don't you?
Yeah, if you're gonna, but then again, saying that, you bet on the football, for example, and when I say football to you US people, I'm talking about proper football, not the one where you dress up in all your body armour and then run into each other.
You mean soccer?
I'm talking about actual football. Yeah. When we bet on the football, you've got other variabilities like the referee, for example, who can make terrible decisions and impact your bet. That's happened. That happens quite a lot. So I guess maybe it's not. Yeah, it'd be interesting. But that's probably another topic for another day. Big Bad Pit Gaming, how easy to get to Factorum? Depends on how you're going to get there. If you're going to drive there, it's actually pretty easy to get to on the whole.
Yeah.
If you're going to get the train there, you can get the train to Warminster. It's a short taxi stroke Uber ride away.
Yeah.
If
I
you
don't
want,
think there is Uber
you can
in Warminster.
Really? Uber's everywhere.
Yeah, but it's Warminster.
You can't. Let me put it this way: you wouldn't want to get off the train and walk there.
It is. It's about a 45 minutes to an hour walk, depending on how good you are at walking, I suppose.
How good you are at walking. Brilliant. Yeah.
Like some people are terrible
If
at
you
walking.
use both your feet, it'll be okay. But if you try and walk with a foot and a hand, you've no chance.
Yeah.
It'll take ages.
You try and run like a lycanthrope, like a horse, you won't go so far.
It also means, however, if you are booking a hotel, there's a couple of travel lodges that are nearby. Again, they're a short 20-minute, 15-minute taxi ride.
Yeah.
Not particularly expensive, obviously, but make sure you get the names of good taxi companies.
The pub at the end of the road is quite expensive.
The pub at the end of the road is quite expensive to stay at, but it is definitely the nearest place.
And they've got very nice food as well.
Yeah, right. One last question before we go that I want both of your opinions on, because it's a short answer, really. Mars says, who's the most competitive out of all of you?
Out of the three of us in this room?
Out of all of us on the channel. So we've got me, you, Chris, Brom, we can write him off, Eddie and Paddy, we can write Eddie off. So between me, you, because Eddie's useless, between me, you, Chris and Paddy, who's the most competitive?
Who, as we were saying, who's the most competitive, like who wants to win, or who is actually the best?
Well, he just says who's the most competitive, Jay, so how are you going to interpret that?
If I go by who wants to win, it'll be Chris.
Chris is shaking his head, by the way, team.
He just wants to destroy
everything
all the time. Who is the best? I'm not going to be selfish and I'll say Paddy. Because Paddy normally beats me. Because I've played, although that said, I have played Paddy at events and I have beaten him.
If you and or Paddy could have any army you wanted on the tabletop and you weren't restricted by what you owned, who would then be the best?
That's not a fair question.
Chris, who's the most competitive?
So, this is a tricky one. So, you and Paddy, you come up with little competitive private chats. I don't think anyone else does that.
Do you?
WhatsApp. You two hash out little meta lists with each other.
We don't have a separate chat.
I don't do that with everyone. However, Liam, when I've watched him play you and other people,
he has to win.
You have to win. Like
you
get
are
angry about winning, and you also meta chase more than me.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
You've got the
true.
ability to with free models and stuff.
But if you go by actual success,
But you're secretly competitive.
I am secretly competitive.
I think so. I would say that I
Paddy's
probably
up there as best player activity wise, but
I think
you two are.
I think I want to win more than anyone else on the channel, and I have to consciously wind that back a lot on stream because I'm aware that that's not good television. But I definitely want to win the most. I would probably say that Joe's the better player out of all of us on the stream. He's just very humble about it. I think he's a better player. I think you wrote the whole academy previously. So,
I might just do another one for lols.
For lols, yeah. Send you a note via Discord after the stream. Good man. Right, thanks, John. Anyway, there we go. I think, I definitely want to win more than anybody else, I think. Yeah. Although, over the last 6 months, the want and desire to win in Brom has significantly increased. Yeah. His skill hasn't, but the want and desire to win has.
He started running more competitive. He's terrible with them, but like he won one game of boarding actions against me with an army I've never ever read
celebrated.
The book for. And he was so excited about it, and then I was like, no. I was like Dracaria coming out.
Back in your box.
Yeah. Stop it.
Right, I hope you guys have enjoyed this. Thank you so much for all the super chats and the memberships and the gifted memberships and things. It's genuinely very, very important to the channel. We really do need to see the channel grow over the next year or so to keep us both in this job, to be honest with you. But your support so far this month has been amazing. I didn't expect it to be I didn't expect January to be for you guys to be as generous in January as you have been, because it's January, right? You guys have been amazing, so thank you so much. Hope you guys are still enjoying this brand new show that we're sticking out for you. We're always keen to know what you think about it and whether it's something we should definitely keep doing, because it is more time away from doing other things, but I think it's a valuable show. Yeah. And Joe and I are talking about creating potentially a Great Hall Combat School type thing in the future as well, so keep your eyes open. We might do that. I'm making no promises.
Can it be like an old, like, have you ever watched Spartacus, Blood in the Sands?
No.
It'd be like that. Everyone in their pants, oiled up, shaving each other's backs. That kind of, like, combat school. Probably then we go play 40k.
Yeah.
Or like in the like the Elizabethan times, when you'd have like, they'd go like when you do sport, you have to wear like a waistcoat and you have to have like your sports watch, which is still on a chain like that. Like we're all old-fashioned engineers.
In 4 hours and 45 minutes, we will go live again on the channel, but it will be to members only. So it's for Skald tier and above. If you are a Skald tier member and above, including if you were gifted a membership by someone in chat like the amazing John McArdle, you will get to come and hang out with us at 7:30 for our members only stream. If you're in Discord, keep an eye on the notification that will give you the link, or you can normally find it via the link on YouTube as well. However, YouTube sometimes recently has been playing up with members only streams, so keep your eye on Discord to make sure you get that link. Ultimately, what you can also do is hit that bell notification, but this is what I'm saying, YouTube's been playing up. It's been sending the notifications through quite late for some people. If you are also a Skald tier member and you have gained it this week and you haven't had one before, you can now go back and watch all the old members only content that we do. Typically every Tuesday, 7:30 UK time, we're live for members only at the moment. Might be adding some more stuff for you beautiful people later. Thank you so much for everybody for joining us today. All 200 of you that should be at work. Before we go, Dan McPhee says, Liam looks like a table flipper.
You are. Big time.
I actually don't care about losing, but during the game I really want to win.
We can see it in your eyes that you care about losing.
when the game's finished, if I lost, I'm like, oh, I've lost. I'm never going to go home upset or sad or storm out of a building about it. But during the game, I definitely want to win.
You're not like some of the... I've seen some people who have to win so much that they're physically shaking.
Yes, I've also seen that.
I like to win against you because
it's me.
I'm still waiting for a Necron army.
Josh Griffiths has just joined us as well. He gets to come and hang out with us tonight. Nice. It's Raven Guard, 2,000 points Raven Guard versus 2,000 points of Grey Knights Lesser Racerback. And we will be using one of the new Arcs of Omen Grand Tournament missions. Undecided yet. What we're going to be doing is shutting the laptop down, setting the studio up for tonight, going and getting some food and getting ready to stream for you beautiful people. Thank you so, so much. You're amazing. We love you very dearly. I think that's everything, Joe, isn't it? Anything you want to add? You can't gift memberships tonight, but if you're not a member, you can join us this afternoon and still get access this evening.
Yeah. You can gift memberships on Thursday.
Thursday is currently still Chat Plays.
Is it still Chat Plays?
If you're not a member and you don't want to be a member and you're not going to join us tonight, we will be live tomorrow night at 9 o'clock for the 40k show. So come and hang out with us. Then it'll be Luce and I. And I think that's everything.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's
wonderful.
lovely.
Should we go have tea and get ready for some food? Start getting ready for the whole table setup thing.
Yeah. Can we have pizza again?
Can we have pizza again?
Yeah.
Pizza. Okay. That's everything from us. I know to go into the in-game menu here. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye. Have a wonderful time.